Good morning, everybody. Today is Saturday. We can see it's 90 degrees. Not as bad as last Saturday, but humidity is still crazy at 42%. All right, I only did a 10-mile run today since I'll be ramping up miles starting next week. And let's face it, being rested and recovered for it is definitely helpful. All right, 38 hours, not too bad. Not too bad for 10 miles. Here we go. I averaged 8:32. Picked it up a little bit. Any accomplishments? Nope. All right, that's fine. I know we're still kind of pushing things hard with the weather. All right, and let's see. There you go. Almost 16,000 steps. All right, let's go upstairs and get weighed in. Time to weigh in. Don't expect anything great. Mostly I'm just looking for hydration. See that hasn't dropped. Okay, 160. At least I'm not half dead today. 24.3% BMI is 24.3, 9.3% body fat, 66.2% water, 65.9 pounds of muscle, 10.7 pounds of bone. Looks like bones gained some weight. Interesting there. Alright, see you downstairs. Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to Saturday of week 8. We're now halfway through the marathon training program. And as we know, Saturdays are always a long run. Today I did only 10 miles, only because as of next week I'll be upping my mileage even further. So I don't want to sit there and necessarily beat myself up every Saturday. So this way my legs can recover and be fresh for next week. Also, something I failed to tell you guys last Saturday. Starting last week, you go back and watch my video, every Saturday for during my long run videos, I'm going to go ahead and I'm wearing the race shirts I ran for each of my first 9 marathons. So this one here is from the P.F. Chang's Rock and Roll Marathon 2010. It's no longer called P.F. Chang's now, it's just called the Rock and Roll Marathon, but P.F. Chang's, the restaurant, sponsored the event for a long time, so that's why they always get the free buzzword. And so every Saturday you'll see me in a different shirt. Each shirt represents each of the 9 marathons I've raced thus far and in this order in which I raced them. So kind of just a little neat thing to share with you guys. Also real quick to kind of wrap up on something we talked about we talked about on Thursday with regards to using goo gels and things like that. I mentioned on that video that and I showed you guys, if you're going to go ahead and really, train with goo and run with goo, you might as well go ahead and buy it in bulk. And I advise that, find a flavor you like. And this morning was a great example of that. Out of the blue, I went ahead and decided, even though I know it was going to be a short run and I really didn't need the fuel per se, I decided, all right, let's see what the fuel difference feels like. So in my cabinet, I pulled up this Goo Vanilla Bean. And I don't know, off the top, I don't know if I personally bought this or if it was something I managed to collect from one of the various expos I've been to. I don't know. But anyhow, on Thursday I mentioned how find a flavor you like it before you buy them in bulk. This is a great example because Goo's ideal of vanilla bean, I was not hip on it. I'm not hip on this. As we know, or as you guys might agree, sometimes we associate certain textures to certain flavors, and if the texture seems off for the flavor that it should be, the two just don't correlate with our mouth. It doesn't seem like the same experience. And so we've had vanilla ice cream, and if you've ever had vanilla bean ice cream, you can tell a difference. There's a stronger vanilla presence. I mean, it's just different. Anyhow, this goo, I'm not liking it. I did not like this at all. I'm glad I did not buy this in bulk because I would not have been happy. But this is the box I was telling you guys about that I showed you on the web. And though I bought this for my last marathon, I really hadn't trained with it. You can see, I mean, there's plenty in here. There's plenty in here, and I think it's a worthwhile investment as far as getting something in bulk and saving money on that. So I wanted to go ahead and share that with you guys, let you know that I do practice what I preach per se, and I just want to share with you my personal experience with, yes, it's always a great idea to find a flavor you like before you buy it in bulk, definitely. I know they sell them, I don't know what the flavors are these days, but I know obviously vanilla bean, I think I've seen chocolate. I think those two are like the only two that really stood out as unusual. Normally, anything that's fruity, like the tangerine, the orange, the grape, those you could do just fine with. Lemon lime, you can do just fine with those, in my opinion. But try for yourself. So if you want to buy these in bulk and save a lot of money, or save some money, find the flavor you wouldn't mind going down a couple dozen times. So that's with that. We'll go ahead and, as always, I'll do our morning shot of wheatgrass. And yeah, we're definitely using compost now, and the grass is much flavor, or well, the grass flavor is much better. Cheers. Alright, yeah, much better. Now, as you saw this morning, I did go out on a run that was hot, not as bad as last week, but definitely not, hang on. Definitely not as cool as I would have liked. Yesterday, and I'll show you real quick, yesterday I only did 2 miles because, as we know from Thursday, I had like 55-hour recovery time or something crazy or whatever. So I just wanted to kind of work some of the lactate out of my legs and things like that. So I ran a couple miles, and it was only 88. And believe it or not, I noticed the difference. I could tell. So and I'm going to show you some numbers real quick on that too. And surprisingly, yeah, I've got some great stuff to share with you, and you're going to see exactly, at least for me, how temperature affects my pace. So that's going to be the great lesson for today. Also, want to go ahead and give a shout out to a person by the name initials SW. Thank you for your condolences. He had watched an earlier video back from week 3 and wanted to send his condolences about my mom. So thank you very much for that. Tomorrow is my mom's birthday. She'll be 80. So so this week, definitely she's been on my mind a lot, and it's definitely kind of, I wouldn't say interfere with training, but it's definitely not made training as easy, if that makes sense. So, with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Today, as you see, only 10 miles. I was out there just before 5, and my average moving pace was 8:32. Today I was focused on bringing up the heart rate to 155. I really didn't want to sit there and train anything slower. I spent 1,100 calories. Garmin, as we know now, has their act together because I can definitely assure you that it was 90 degrees this morning because my phone told me that. And so with that, yeah, my legs are definitely still feeling a little bit. I was running about 182 strides a minute, and almost halfway into it, my body relaxed, warmed up, and my stride opened up. So you see the rest of it. I was pushing about 180 strides, and I was really happy because once I got warmed up here, pretty much starting at about mile 4, the rest of it I was maintaining about the 155 heart rate that what I was shooting for, and outside my warm-up mile, I was cruising along right there at about the 8:30 pace. There's there's 4 miles that I had exceeded the 8:30 pace just by a little bit, but for the most part I was cruising along at or near the 8:30 pace on a 155. So I'm happy with that. Something I thought was interesting to share with you guys was heart rate. As we know, normally at the beginning it's kind of crazy because your body's trying to adjust to what you're doing to it. But we noticed that as of, after mile 7, wow, heart rate came down. It came down nicely, and we could see that. I mean, my average moving pace was still well within reason. Nothing crazy changed there. So my pace, oh hang on, sorry. Yeah, same thing. But yeah, my pace didn't really go up or down any. And my heart rate has been pretty consistent. Actually, slowly came down a little bit, which is nice, especially this last 8/10 of a mile, where yeah, same moving pace, but now the heart rate is starting to come down. So maybe it was adapting to the environment and things like that. And so I was really happy with the fact that I saw this. So that's great information. That's letting me know that under the circumstances, my body's adapting. So hoorah to me on that. Now, I also mentioned that there was kind of a difference between today and yesterday. Here. Oh, hang on, wrong one. Oh, here we go. So this was yesterday. Here we go. This was yesterday. You see I only did 2 miles, and it was only 88 degrees. But we see, first mile, I went out a little faster. Here, we'll give you apples to apples. So first mile here was almost a 9 compared to my first mile here was 8:44. I finished out the mile on average of 1:41 compared to, oh, I don't have this moved over right, compared to an average of 1:43. Hang on, let me just get this moved over. All right. So compare that to 1:43. Now, mile 2 on today was an 8:23 with an average of 1:51. Whereas yesterday, an 8:13, 10 seconds faster on 3 beats slower. Kind of interesting if you ask me, especially after Thursday's run, which was like a totally kick butt run. You would think my heart would have been still more fatigued, but whatever the case was, you could see, I came in 10 seconds faster on the second mile, and my heart rate was slower. So kind of interesting to see how exactly your body adapts to training, and then like from a day in and day out. So interesting there. But let's get rid of this for a second. Going back to here, we'll do this quick. So today our average pace was 8:32 with an average heart rate. I'm going to get rid of that, but let's say everything pretty much highlighted. Let's say average heart rate was 155. Because I know we have a few that's higher, but we have a few that's lower. So let's say 155 altogether. And now we're going to go to my hellish run last week at 99 degrees. So today was 90, last week was 99. Watch this. And although I ran 14.5 miles last week, I'm only highlighting the first 10 because that's as apples as we can get. Now, last week, I managed to run about the same 155 beat heart rate, we would agree with that, but 9 degrees higher, and look at this. I was comfortably 30 seconds slower. 9 degrees equaled 30 seconds slower in pace. Pretty interesting. So remember on was it Thursday that I gave you guys that link on how it was last weekend. How I gave you guys that link on how temperature, you should adjust your running pace based on temperature. Remember that webpage for every 10 degrees, how things change? Here's living proof of that. So today was 90. We saw the numbers, not too bad. Then we look at last week, 9 degrees higher, and roughly the same heart rate. Roughly within reason, we would agree within reason about the same heart rate. And my 8:30 average pace now comfortably became a 9. Comfortably became a 9. So 9 degrees, same heart rate, 30 seconds slower. Pretty interesting. So we could read articles about this all we want, but being able to see this in real life, kind of interesting. Now we're going to go back one more time. Now we're going to go back to when I only did 12 miles. Okay, that was fine. This was on July 1st, which was 2 weeks ago. And we look at our temperature, 73. We know back then it was wrong, and because I had my phone, and before filming this, I went ahead and pulled up that video, and my phone showed us it was 80 degrees. So 10 degrees cooler than it was today. 10 degrees cooler than it was today. Again, I highlighted the first 10 miles, and average heart rate, now that time I only averaged about a 150. About a 150, okay, we could say that, 150 comfortably average. Roughly speaking, the same 8.5 minute mile, roughly. So within reason, same 8.5 minute mile. Now, altogether, I average an 8:33 pace, whereas today I average an 8:32 pace. 8:32 compared to 8:33. Roughly speaking, 5 beats per minute slower. Same heart rate, 10 degrees cooler. Pretty interesting. So unbeknownst to myself, and I didn't plan this, it just turns out this way. 2 weeks ago, it was 10 degrees cooler. 1 week ago, it was 9 degrees hotter than it is today. So we had 3 runs for the first 10 miles in 90, 99, and 80. And you could see firsthand at least how the heat affects me, and I live here. How the heat affects me, pretty interesting. So we always read articles about running in the heat and taking it easy, more water, blah, blah, blah. We all get that. But we see firsthand how exactly this affects me. So pretty interesting if you ask me, and this is some great feedback. Now, something else I want to share with you on this I thought was kind of interesting. The other thing I want to cover before we go was I go down here and this is today, we're back to today, and Garmin talks about time in my zones, my heart rate zones, and it shows me that an hour and 20 minutes out of an hour and 26 minute run today, all but 6 minutes were spent in this zone, the 140 to 157 zone, which is zone 4 according to Garmin. And they're saying that zone 4 is threshold between 140 beats to 157 beats per minute. Kind of interesting, especially when I don't know exactly how Garmin has determined my threshold. I'm not 100% certain on that. Maybe I need to reconfigure the watch or something. But I say to myself, this is a slow run. 155, 156, you guys know this is like a slow run for me. This is not beating me up by any stretch. So then I asked myself, okay, let's look at what threshold is all about. And I have this article from Runner's World Threshold Training. And they clearly tell us flat out that most runners configure that their threshold pace is equal to a pace that they could race at 50 to 60 minutes. Clearly I did this for an hour and 26 and I'm not beating myself up over it. So 50 to 60 minutes. In fact, the slower runner's threshold pace might actually be a 10K pace because they are taking nearly an hour to race that distance. So yeah, if you're a 9 or 10 minute mile person, well, 10K is 6.2 miles. 6.2 times 10, that's easily 62 minutes. So yeah, if you're a 9 or 10 minute mile person and you're running a 10K in about that time, 10K might be your threshold pace. But what else they cover here is, this is what I thought was interesting. Intensity of effort, not necessarily distance of running or racing, is what determines the degree of stress being put on the body's system. Okay, that's a very interesting point. The intensity of the effort, and not necessarily the distance of the running or the racing. Because if a 10-minute pace is kicking your butt, that's threshold for you. If a 10-minute pace is turtle speed for you, clearly not threshold for you. So it's the intensity of the effort. For some reason, I have no trouble with 155, 157. Garmin tends to think that's threshold for me, but that's clearly not the case. So as we go into the second half of the 16-week marathon training program, now next week we start week 9 or phase 3. That's when we're going to really kick things up, because that's when we're going to really get into learning how to maintain faster speeds for greater distances. So threshold pace will go into that effect. Now also I want to bring up to you, share with you guys something I thought was interesting was something that Garmin's got. Okay, these here are all the apps on my Garmin watch, and other than these last two, all of them says they're built-in widgets. Can I delete them? I don't know. I've never tried, but they're built-in widgets provided by Garmin. These last two I personally downloaded: Marathon Race Predictor, and then the Velocity of Maximum Oxygen Uptake, your VVO2. Real quick, Marathon Race Predictor. I've played around with this a little bit. The thing I like about this, especially for those of us trying to hit specific goals, is that what it does is that not only does it tell you what your current, what it doesn't tell you per se, but it calculates based on your current speed, how far you're currently into this marathon, as well as what your cumulative time has been. So if you're running 10, 10, 9, 9, 9, 8, 11, 9.5, something like that, what it does is it determines based on what you've accumulated so far, and it has some mathematical algorithm in it to determine some fatigue in the later miles. It lets you know that as of right now, it predicts what your marathon finish time should be. So, kind of interesting. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit more. I don't know if I'm going to use that on race day, but this VVO2 Max, I definitely will play around with starting next week, especially when I get into my intervals, as well as I get into what we're going to do on fartlek day, which is going to switch up a little bit. And the VVO2 Max app on my phone, it pretty much just tells us right here. The app has been created to be able to calculate in real time the percentage of velocity of VO2 max, velocity of maximum oxygen uptake, or the VMA. So in real time, it's going to let me know what my VVO2 max is. Now we've probably heard of VO2 max. What is VVO2 max? So then I want to share with you guys this. VVO2 max is the velocity at maximal oxygen uptake. It is an intense running or swimming pace. This is the minimum speed for which an organism's maximum oxygen uptake is reached after a few minutes of exercise at the intensity. At higher paces, additional power is entirely delivered by anaerobic process. At this pace, blood lactate in the muscles reaches levels around the 8 to 10 molar concentration. Sorry, I'm not up on that one. So with that, so now we have an understanding as to what that's all about. So I'm going to play around with that app. Unfortunately, these two apps that I've shared with you, they don't seem to, and I don't know if it's something I'm done or they're just not included, but when we go to like my Garmin Connect page, this kind of stuff, those apps don't come over. Those apps don't come over. I've not found a spot on Garmin that says, hey, let's take a look at the data from the app. So that VVO2 stuff, I don't think I have any way of reporting that to you other than while I'm running, looking at my watch to get the numbers down. And so what I'm going to do with that, especially on Tuesday when I'll be doing 1 mile intervals, is I'm going to go ahead and take a look at that. So have an idea as to, okay, at my 1 mile speed, what percentage of VVO2 max am I at? So I'll give you guys feedback on that on Tuesday. Anyhow, we're going to go ahead and get this wrapped up today. I know I kind of covered a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed everything I shared with you today, especially on the GU, especially on the 10-degree temperature difference comparisons. I think that's some vital information. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you like today's video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday I post a new video. Be certain to subscribe so you can stay in touch with my training progress. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them below, and I'm always happy to address them. That's it for today. You guys have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Take care.